I'm Ashley Black, and welcome to your fascia practice. So, with fascia, we have to remember that it's this 3D web. And so, one of the things that's amazing, the opposite of a space bag, you know, those bags that take your winter sweater and suck all the air out. We want to do that in reverse. And one really great way to not only sort of excite the liquid crystals, which creates the piezoelectric energy of the fascia, but to also strengthen it and sort of awaken it is just by simple skin pulling. And it's also a great way to diagnose where we have challenges with fascia. So when we pull our skin up like this, it should pull up like a Shar-Pei. So if you start doing this pulling practice, and I even use those old school things that open cans, or a TheraBand or something like that. So you just start pinching and pulling the skin from all angles, again, opposite of that space bag. And it's so, so effective. Even when you go in little places on your hand like this, you might pull this up and be like, oh my God, this is on fire. So it's a little bit of a diagnostic tool, but it's also just a little bit of an awakening, a little bit of a stretching, running some energy through the body. For me, as when I get up into these bigger muscles, I switch from, finger pinching to the hand. And we're doing it real time. This is all I would do. And I would go from all angles here, right? So that's about all we would need on an arm. And then go to the other one, just do some pinching, some pulling. And again, think of it like a cheese on a pizza, right? When we pull the cheese part up and it stretches all the gooey cheese, that's what's happening. It's like I'm grabbing the top layer of cheese and then it's pulling all the cheese off the pizza. So it's coming from the inside of our body when we do this. And even me doing it, I just found something. I don't know what happened with this right wrist today, probably too much texting or something. A little burn feeling might be something that you would feel. I feel a little bit on this finger, which is typical of holding the phone. So the other thing that I like to incorporate, aside from kind of having the knowledge and picturing the cheese and all of that, is kind of picturing the body almost, it's a Christmas tree of lights. And you want to do the pulling until you can kind of feel the Christmas tree lights coming on. And one of the ways that we can kind of coax that is through a visualization practice as we're doing it. Picturing beautiful gold strings of light running through our body as we do this, and kind of coaxing that fascia to come alive. And again, this practice can be done on the entire body. So we can go up to the chest. I love pinching neck. Can already feel a little TMJ-ish stuff going on in here. So yeah, just pinching. You can even roll a little bit. I've even started seeing on TikTok people, doing this for the face and calling it like a fascial facial. But this is old school techniques. People have been skin rolling and skin pulling for a long time. You can do it on your back. I know it's probably hard to see me, but I'm just kind of pulling my erector spinae up, full hand grabbing back there. I love to get around the ribs. Ryan, anybody that's doing a breathing practice, grabbing the fascia at the ribs and I'm literally pulling it way up. Gives us that space to breathe. And then we can kind of move on to the legs. And again, same thing. You should really be able to pull that skin up. I've noticed that this inner thigh is really tight. And sometimes when I'm just sitting on the beach, I start doing this. It feels really good. But just, again, pulling to create the space. And you are getting some shearing, some of these, and you definitely are getting stretching. So who knows? We don't even know how effective this therapy practice is, but it's definitely worth doing. And I don't have an issue with, kind of the Qigong type tapping. You are beating liquid crystals together, but what I would say is that you want to keep it pretty soft. There's a mechanism in fascia where it, for just a microsecond, goes from sort of being gelatinous to stiff when we take impact, catching a ball. Our hand doesn't catch it with the muscles and bones, it's that fascia. So if we're really beating hard, We don't want to set off that mechanism. It's like, guys who, well, surfers are a great example, Ryan. We get those, from banging on the board, our ribs against the board, we start to get a buildup of fascia, So I would just say, when you're dealing with your fascia, like beating on it is going to make it thicker and harder because it's trying to protect from that banging. So I am more of it's like the water element, right? That's the way that we impact that fascia. So that is a really good way. I actually feel completely different. And then another just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, is that we have layers of fascia, but the main three lines, surface and deep, are the anterior line, the posterior line, and the side line. So I do love these three stretches for that. So for the sideline, good old fashioned yoga to literally open up this entire line. And what I teach is that if you want to add even more fascia, you turn the foot and then you lean into that, and it'll get this entire side line. And then for the posterior line, I like to bend over, but also lift the feet like this, and then pull the head, because that's the fascia line. Or if you have some type of board, like a slant board, to put both feet up on the slant board, and then bend over and pull the head. And when you're doing fascia stretching, it's not wonderful to hold it. It's better to floss it. So if we get in that stretch, for instance, then we would just pull our head and then kind of let ourselves out of it, and then pull our head and let ourselves out of it. And same thing here. We don't need to get into the crescent moon and hold it. We can take the wrist and pull it, and then cross the foot and pull it, but in and out. And then the deep anterior line, my favorite way to do it is with a lunge. And then you can add, the chin. You can add this and just go in and out of it. Always exhaling on the stretch. So I might do those stretches maybe 20 times in and out of the stretch. But that little routine is just a great way to completely warm up the fascia for any type of exercise. And if you can do it in heat, even better.